Hi, I'm sick in bed, but I wanted to say I had to erase video that I made about Meghan Markle's book, The Bench. You can really easily go to the library, lady, and there's the book. The Bench is the home is a weird concept, first of all. A bench for me has more an association with elderly people. You know, they're sitting on a bench, feeding the pigeons, not a young person. The rhymes are odd. You're my kin. I don't know. It's weird. And I think what's really odd is that a person that disconnected willingly from her entire family actually writes a book about family connection because the connection between a father and a son is not disconnected from the family between a grandfather and a grandson and all the other connections. What I've learned from my life is that you can have a good connection in a family where there's bad connections. I thought I had a good connection with my grandparents up until the time where they passed away, and actually, my mother and her children were not mentioned in the will. Even though I went every Friday night to my grandparents, I'm not asking for money, but I'm just saying souvenir. And even the things, the gifts I gave my grandparents, even the embroidery I made as a 14-year-old, they all disappeared. And I had nothing to say about it. The, the home where I spent my youth from the age of 13 to the age of 23 when they passed away, when I was 23, there was nothing left of it. I don't know what they did to the apartment, but my aunt, who had no connection to me, and my cousin just took over, which shows you that the connection I had with my grandparents wasn't real. Because I don't understand how a grandparent can just not mention a grandchild that came every single Friday to their home, so they wouldn't be alone on a Sabbath. I don't understand how a religious person can buy a plot in the Mount of Olives and yet leave not even a religious book to your grandchild. I mean, it would have been so meaningful for me to have the religious books my grandfather studied from or anything of the family, and I had like nothing. And all of a sudden, I had nothing, and I experienced the nothing again and again every time someone died in the family. I'm not talking about money, I'm just saying like the ability to choose something or a souvenir from your family. I have nothing left of my mother. I have nothing left of my father hardly. I have very few souvenirs, and I couldn't choose because my siblings took over the apartment and rented it out, and it was all about money. And then I realized it's how you teach your children. If you teach your children, then they could just take over, and if you teach them survival of the fittest, this is what the family is going to be like. I don't know how Meghan Markle got to be such a horrible human being, but it's not that I claim it. It's just the way she behaves towards everyone around her, the way they badmouthed their family, the royal family, in the media. And as far as I know, she has no connections to anyone. I mean, you have so much power, you have so much money, and yet you don't even have one little connection for your son to have with his grandfather on either side. And then you write a children's book and you dedicate it to the man that makes your heart pump. First of all, I've never heard of that expression, pump. Second of all, the language she used in the book didn't flow. And to write a children's book is actually the most difficult um, achievement. I love children's books because to write something that conveys a message in the simplest way is the most difficult task. I love some of the writers of children's books, and I don't know about their private lives, but for sure, when you write, it has to come from the heart and not the pump, not the pumping one, but the heart as a metaphor, the ability to love. And if you can't love, how can you write about love? So the whole book for me is just ridiculous. And the whole, everything they say is ridiculous. And I feel sorry for them because they have so many opportunities and yet they choose to, to act as poisonous agents to destroy everything. And for their children, it's just going to be really sad because a child should grow up with extended family. And when I was young, I had no idea that when I'll grow up, I'll have no cousins, no brothers and sister, nothing left. Luckily, I do have good connections to animals, but if I didn't have that, it would be really difficult because connections to others is what makes our lives good or not. And I'm really blessed to have amazing animals I can connect to. But on the other hand, I've had so much pain and suffering from my family and from the family I created. I really didn't choose a husband that made me happy or thought about me. Only thought about himself, still does. Never appreciated the gift children are. Even though my sons live with him, they're adults, he doesn't really acknowledge the fact that they came to this world thanks to me. If I hadn't carried them in my body for 9 months, if I hadn't cared for them while he went to work, making sure he has a job, yes, he was paying for us, but he kept most of the money for himself and he always calculated his needs first. And every vacation we had was for him first. He was the most selfish, narcissistic person I knew. But then again, I had so many my own family to compare with him. So when I see Meghan Markle, for me it's a trigger because I think it reminds me of my cousin, of my all my family members who just thought about themselves first and had no problem bad mouthing and saying bad things about others. So remember this: when you talk badly about others, it's reflection of yourself. When I say bad things about my siblings and my cousins, it comes from a place of pain. I wonder why they don't have a connection to me because I don't remember doing anything to deserve being treated like that. So I'm not saying they're bad people, I'm just saying I don't understand why. The whole family doesn't value human connections. And Meghan Markle is a reminder to all of us that there are some things are more important than jewelry or money or profit or fame. A connection to another human being is probably the most important thing ever. And while I can appreciate that she loves her husband or claims to love him, how can you trust someone who doesn't value a bond with the man who raised her, who doesn't value the bond with people that she grew up with, who doesn't value bonds of her husband with his family, with his birth family? He lost his mother, but what about his father? What about his brother, William, who everybody, as far as I know, recognizes as a really nice guy? How can you be so wrapped around someone's finger that you don't, or that you just don't care at all about the people you grew up with, the people that knew you before you could speak and walk? How can you be so blind? That's what I want to ask Harry. Because nobody in this world would stand between me and people that I want to be in touch with. Maybe he doesn't want to be in touch with them, but isn't it sad that people that don't want to be in touch with their own family create a family? What is the basis for that family? How can you build a building when you don't have a foundation? And the foundation, in my opinion, of a family is how you grew up, which is why my family did not really make it very far. I realized at one point that I don't have strong foundations for a family, that I don't know how to be in a family, and my children don't really have family. And not because I don't want to, not because I didn't try, because there's nothing out there. But if you have family that wants a connection with you, the way Thomas Markle wants a connection with his daughter or claims to, how can you just turn him away? He's the one who gave you life. How can you betray the person who gave you life, no matter what this person does? I mean, and it doesn't seem to me that he did such bad things. I don't know, but how can you have a connection with this person and then you got married and then you're like in with the new, out with the old? It seems so cruel, calculating, and heartless. And then you write a children's book a book for children, a book for the purest souls in this universe. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. This book is wrong on so many levels. I don't understand why there are fathers there that are in wheelchairs of different colors. It has nothing to do with the text. The text is not about an inclusive father. The text is about a bench, for God's sakes, where father and son meet. And her life, there is no father who comes back from work the way I had, or all most of us have. This father doesn't go to work. It's really an odd family. The father doesn't go to work. They stay in this huge villa and they focus on themselves and saving chickens, which is really beautiful. But, you know, this is their connection, dogs and chickens. They don't have any human connections. And there are humans there who want to be connected to them, but they reject them. I don't get that. How anybody with this kind of mindset could even dare to presume they can write anything or say anything or teach anyone anything. Before you teach anyone, you have to know yourself. Problem is, a lot of people think they could teach before they know themselves anything, before they know anything themselves. This book is really badly written. The illustrations are nice, but they have nothing to do with the text. I really don't get it. I don't recommend wasting 1 minute of your life reading it. Peace, light, and love.